Chodesh Tov to everybody. Thank you to Zamira and Laela and the OU for this amazing quality learning opportunity. Thank you to the wonderful Shani Tarragon and Hannah Deutsch, who have been telling all of us everything that we could possibly know about our beloved matriarch Sara. You have actually made my role a bit trickier. You women have shown yourself as stars of this subject, and I guess I am once again the character actress. But in fact, I was invited today to speak about the character of Sara Emeinu on stage and off. In case we never met, as Samira said, my name is Sharon Katz, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Women's Performance Community of Jerusalem with Avital Macales and Shifra Penkauer and Bati Katz Copeland. We're a sister project of Laela and the OU, and we present programming that brings women together of Greater Jerusalem through performance, song, story, comedy, magic, music, dance. For the past 5 years, we have had almost monthly programming at the OU Israel Center, and now on Zoom. We're traveling to discover performing talent all over the world, and it's been very exciting. We also have been lucky enough to bring to the stage 2 full-scale musicals through the WPC and OU Israel. The first one, as Mira said, was Count the Stars, The Journey of Avraham Sara. And the last one was Hidden, The Secret Jews of Spain. In fact, commercial, Hidden is currently available for rent online. http://rent hidden. Maybe I'll send you the link later. And now, really, we're waiting for the world to heal so that we can get on stage with our newest musical, Whisper Freedom, The Soviet Jewry Struggle. When Avital Macales and I first began writing and composing the show, Count the Stars, we decided from the very beginning, the first day, that we weren't just going to tell the story of Avraham Avinu. We would tell the story of Avram and his perfect partner, Sarah. We were a women's group after all, and the women looked to, Jewish women everywhere looked to Sara Emeinu as their role model. So did we. But we didn't want to look at her as an over-idealized, in an over-idealized way, or as Shani said, as an icon. We wanted to look at Sarah as a real person. Our vision of Sarah's importance in the Jewish eternal adventure was reflected right off the bat from the title of our show, Count the Stars, The Journey of Avraham and Sara. We felt, and we believe rightly, that one of the reasons that Avram became so great as he did, was because Sara Emeinu was not only supportive, but was a complete partner in his life's work. But let's be real, Hashem didn't begin the Parsha speaking to Avram and Sarai with the words, Lechu lachem, go for yourselves. It was Avram to whom Hashem spoke, Lech lecha, go for yourself, go for yourself, go for your family, go for your future, go for what you could accomplish in the world, go for yourself, he told Abraham. But would he have gone without his wife? And would his life's mission have come to the great level that it did without his wife working and striving right beside him and accepting his mission as his mission as her own, and even making it her own unique mission? But friends, how do we meet Sarai in the beginning? With the words that Sarai was barren. She had no child. This simple sentence, this heartbreaking sentence, is our introduction to the woman who became the matriarch of the Jewish people. And indeed, Sarah's barrenness is something that affected and influenced her entire life. How many women do we know who live waiting and praying and hoping that one day Hashem will bless them with a child? We believed that in telling the story of Sara Emeinu, we must tackle the issue of her barrenness. We tried to do it with sensitivity. We often did it with tears, but we'll explore that a little later. When we read the Parshiot of Avraham Avinu, and we learn of the trials and the challenges that he undertook, that he overcame, he's not the only one with trials. Sarah suffered many of the trials that we all face today, and we wanted her to be a real example of how to overcome, how Jewish women could overcome difficulties and challenges with Emunah. We humanize Sarah, but hopefully not too much. We dealt with her loneliness, with her loneliness and her travels and her kidnapping, and more than anything else with her barrenness and her faith. We first meet Sarah when she's 65 years old. Now, I just turned 65, and I'll tell you honestly that the last thing that I want to do is go running from country to country because my husband is being chased by a despotic ruler who hates monotheism and wants to kill my spouse. At 65, doesn't Sarai have the right to sit in her living room, reading classic novels, learning Torah, entertaining friends, picking up the toys of her grandchildren, and cooking for family gatherings? But instead, she's running from town to town with her husband, and she has no children. But we hear that Avram and Sarai had many disciples. Sarai educated the women, while Avram taught the men. And yet when the day was over and their students went home and Avram and Sarai went back to their tent, they were all alone. Zmira, could I ask you to play the first clip that we have from Count the Stars, where Sarai discusses the fact that she and Avram are all alone?
We're all alone. Oh, you exaggerate. In search of that one place where we'll be free, you and me, you and I. Alone in our trials, alone in our campaign. Sarai, you can't be serious. See all the souls we've made. Hear dozens call me father. Women look to you, so do I. You and I. We're all alone, away from all our loved ones and our friends. We say goodbye. We're all alone. In every town we earn our place again. At least we try. We've run from every country, from Sumer and beyond, expelled by every kingdom, 'cause you won't bow to their gods. We don't know what tomorrow brings, but we will still go on, all alone. You and me, you and I. You and I. We're not alone. The one who gave us life is always near. Do not fear. I don't fear. We're not alone. We're not alone. Others join the tent of our new frontier. They're sincere. They are sincere. We've had so many trials, I think there's more to come, but we'll keep on teaching goodness, reaching out to everyone. We'll keep on our quest to find the God who's really true. But we did, yes we did, all alone, you and me, you and I. Perhaps there is a brave new world that we can build, we can try. You and I.
There you go. Our first introduction in our show to the issue that Sarah and Avram are all alone. But Hashem doesn't leave them in Haran for long. He tells Avram to go to a new land. Hashem doesn't give the message to Sarai. Sarai has to believe Avram that a blessed life lays before them in an unknown country. Sarai has to have faith that if she follows her husband, that blessings will come to them. Sarai has to believe in Avram's mission, and Sarai has to convince other women to take the leap of faith and to trust that one day that a new future will be before them. But the next thing that we know, there's a famine in the land, and Avram and Sarai must descend to Egypt. And on the way out, they suddenly come to a realization. Avram realizes that Sarai is beautiful. He always knew that she was beautiful inside and out, but suddenly he's thinking of her in the way that the Egyptians might see her. And we know that Sarai was incomparably beautiful. In fact, friends, that we learned that there were 4 exceptionally beautiful women in the world. The first was Sarai, and then Rachav, Abigail, and Esther. Is it possible, Zmira, for you to play the second clip, which is called Stardust? And it's the encounter on a hilltop over Egypt of Avram and
Good.
Uncle, did God bring us to this land to starve?
Starve? I heard that there's great takeout in Egypt.
Egypt, I see Egypt over there far away. Oh, Egypt, just how long must we stay? I know we've discussed this before, but I can't help wondering more. Was it right of us to leave the land of Canaan? Don't forget whom we rely on.
The famine was unbearable.
You're right.
It made life pretty terrible.
Yes, quite.
But this trip will be very temporary. And when it's time to leave, let's not tarry.
Well, it will be easier to travel around without
Children,
yes.
remember God promised.
I know, it's just when time is going by. I'm old.
Old. Have I ever told you how beautiful you are?
Avraham. Remember the time when we lived in Nor Casdim, and we sat on a hill and watched the stars. We were young and we weaved together dreams, and the sky sparkled at us from afar. Soon, we said, very soon. Remember that time after decades had gone by, and another empty evening lay before us. We looked up once again at the darkness of the sky, and we searched for a glimmer to console us. Soon we sighed, very soon, and now we're here on this path to who knows where. And while we're here as a family, well, a pair, we'll throw despair to the wind. We will, we must. We'll throw despair to the wind and just look up. Somewhere inside of us, there's a young, dreamy couple, still wrapped in stardust.
Difficulties. I love Zooms because it's so real. It's what's really, really happening out there. That's fantastic. So yes, so there we go. Stardust and Sarai and Avram are about to descend into the decadent Egypt. And Baruch Hashem, just as we learn that that the actions of our patriarchs influence us, so the actions of Sarai in Pharaoh's palace, with her prayers and her prayers to retain her tzniut and her safety, are answered by Hashem. And this is like something in our DNA that enables Jewish women today, Jewish women throughout history, to always guard their tzniut and their morality and their personal physical safety. And when Avram and Sarai leave Egypt, God speaks to Avram in a vision in the Brit Bein HaBitarim. And in our show, Count the Stars, we end the scene with Avram bringing Sarai with him out under the stars and showing her and pointing up to the heavens. Now Avram, the Hashem had promised Avram that Eliezer will not inherit him, although he is my favorite character in the show. I played Eliezer. But Eliezer will not inherit him, but his own offspring will be the one that inherits him. And to us, it just made sense that Avram would include Sarai in this great news that Hashem had told him. And Hashem told Avram, to your descendants have I given this land. And that was also exciting news. And Avram would have descendants, and surely in his mind, that Sarai would be the mother of those descendants. But what happens afterwards? The Torah tells us, now Sarai, Avram's wife, had borne him no children. Avram just received this promise that his children would inherit the land. Avram was promised that the inheritance would be from a child of his own, but Sarai had no children. And what did she do? As a Jewish woman, as Jewish women throughout history, Sarai was very practical. She puts her personal feelings to the side as much as she can, and she talks her maid into marrying her husband so that the prophecy will be fulfilled. We showed that Avraham really believed that Sarah would have children, but she could not wait any longer. They had been in the land of Canaan for 10 years, waiting and hoping for a child. Imagine it. And we did. Sarai was Avram's best friend. She was not just his wife, not just his partner, but his best friend, the love of his life. And yet for the sake of fulfilling the promise that Hashem gave them, she was willing to give her maid to her husband as a wife in order to have children. How courageous and self-sacrificing Sarai must have been. And we told the story in 10 years of utter frustration. And as Hagar usurped Sarah's role in her household. But the self-sacrifice that Sarai undergoes to make sure that Hashem's promise to Avram is fulfilled, it does not go unnoticed. And she herself gets a prophecy from Hashem. And we read that, as for Sarai, your wife, do not call her Sarai, for Sarah is her name. Sarah is her name. I will bless her, and indeed I will give you a son through her. I will bless her, and she will give rise to nations, and kings of peoples will rise from her. Perhaps Sarai had been barren, but Sarah had a completely different destiny, the destiny of the mother of the Jewish people. And to emphasize the story, Hashem even sent 3 angels to Avram to promise that this time next year, Sarah will have a son. So she was listening from her tent and she laughed because she was so happy. She was so incredibly thrilled and amazed. And could it be true? I can't believe it, that an old couple could become parents of a new baby. But nothing is impossible for Hashem. And Sarah laughed, a laugh filled with joy. And what happens? Hashem remembers Sarah and he gives her a son. And what does she call him? Yitzchak. He will laugh because Hashem has given Sarah a baby, a gift of laughter. And Sarah says, Hashem, God has made laughter for me. Whoever hears will laugh with me. God has granted Sarah the pure joy of laughter. And Rashi said that there wasn't only laughter and joy in the tent of Avram and Sarah, but that the entire world laughed for them. And there was joy everywhere. Barren women were remembered along with Sarah. Many sick people were healed. Prayers were answered. Joy filled the world. And now,
And so it is in every land across the world, in every generation. There are those who care for justice.
Can you hear and see it?
For humanity.
yes,
Walk in God's way, even if they must walk alone. These are the spiritual children of Avraham and Sarah. And yet, they were not the only ones to carry on his legacy. Triumphant music, please! Perfect! Yes, God remembered Sarah. And Sarah conceived and gave birth to a child, to Avraham in his old age. Avraham was 100 years old and Sarah was 90. And they named the baby Yitzchak.
God has given me laughter. God has gathered the laughter of the world and bundled it into my arms. God has given me laughter, an overflowing of laughter and of love. each soul will have a reason to rejoice, and all the world will laugh for me. A new today for a man so old. They scoffed and said I'd never see the future that I know will soon unfold. You are a star. You are the answer to our every waking prayer. You and your children will soar to the highest of heights. Oh, you are our star. And on your lips I see promise, and in your eyes I see a sign of hope. You grasp a strength of spirit. May all the weak use the strength to cope. Radiant light shines everywhere. New blessing fills the earth with awe. The blind will see, the deaf all hear. That I'm nursing my baby, oh so small. You are our star. You are our star. If ever life is dark, your light will lead the way. You will guide your children wisely wherever they are. Oh, you are our star. We see a bright tomorrow, enhancing the blessings God has made. A future leader to follow. Remember, this is what the angels had conveyed.
There is no word with enough largesse to equal the joy of my master and mistress. Elation, jubilation, excitement, bliss, ecstasy, delight, triumph, happiness. Time passed, and Sarah weaned her son. The world's greatest kings gathered, recognizing the miracle was all that mattered.
And all the world will laugh for me. A new today for a man so old. They scoffed and said we'd never see the future that we know will now unfold. And all the world will laugh for you. You have a son to emulate your ways. His wondrous birth proves God's word is true. Yes, your son will be a comfort all your days. And all the world will laugh for you. You have a son to emulate your ways. A son to emulate. His wondrous birth proves God's word is true. Yes, your son will be a comfort all your days. You are a star. And all may shine evermore across the universe. May light never dim and future stars bright in the world. Oh, you are our star. You are our star. You are our star. You are our star.
Thank you, Zamira, and thank you for everybody for joining us and talking about our character on stage and off of Sara Emeinu, and for a look